Good morning. My name is Tina Mayer, and I'm your worship associate today. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our Song of Gathering in your Ray hymnal number 360, Here We Gather. Please use the lyrics that are in the back of your order of service.
Start of vision, morning. My name is Christopher Fenton, and I am your worship. My name is Christopher Fenton, and I am the treasurer of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger peoples. We have two announcements for today. One, we expect the service here next Sunday and the one on Christmas Eve will be very well attended. We are happy about that. That means the parking will be a challenge for some. Please don't park along Albany Post Road because it is dangerous for you. Do not park across the street in the private business lot as cars may be towed. Let's try to give priority in our parking lot to visitors and those with mobility problems, families with children, and the elderly. The UUCHV has a long-standing arrangement with the New York State Department of Transportation that we can use their lot across the street next to the Route 9 overpass. There is a stoplight and walk, don't walk sign at the highway entrance and exits to assist in pedestrian safety. We urge those adults who have no difficulty walking to use that lot for the next couple of services. Also, the Christmas Eve service on December 24th at 5 p.m. will be followed by a potluck reception. If you are planning to attend and have a favorite finger food you would like to bring or share, look for a sign-up sheet during coffee hour. For the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you are present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link to our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you are just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will make sure that you are added to our e-news list. Also, please remember to silence your cell phones at this time. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Hudson Valley.
It's my pleasure to welcome back our guest preacher today, Reverend Ashley DeTar Birt. Reverend Ashley DeTar Birt, she, her, is the program manager for NYUUJ, our UU State Advocacy Network. She is also the co-director for the Center for Jubilee Practice. Ordained as a Presbyterian minister, she is an outspoken advocate for youth, ministry, and social justice who has worked as a youth leader, children, youth, and family pastor, and artistic and justice minister. She lives in New York City with her wife, Emily, who is a UU minister in northern Westchester and Mount Kisco. Welcome, Reverend Ashley.
Thank you. It is great to be with you once again. Welcome, beloveds. Welcome. We come to spiritual community this morning with many hopes in our hearts. The hope for inspiration, the hope for comfort, the hope for renewal. In this time and space, may inspiration water our thirsty souls. In this time and space, may comfort blossom in the gardens of our hearts and bring us sweet relief. In this time and space, may renewal course through us as electric as a surge of energy, as serene as a nourishing meal, as contagious as joy, and bring us vitality and rejuvenation. May our time together honor all the hopes we hold within. And may our time together bless us with the gifts of inspiration, comfort, and renewal. Let us worship together. And now I invite the children and young people to come forth for the bell ringing.
fighting words come today from May Sarton. Help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness, nothing comes to birth, as without light, nothing flowers. Now please join me in saying our affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice.
All right, members, are we ready? Let's sing. This is a Hanukkah song in the Ladino language. And we did a little research on it. Michael, do you want to share anything with
Well, ocho candelicas means 8 small candles in Ladino. It's the language of Sephardic Jews, and this was, the song was discovered in a Sephardic neighborhood in Sarajevo in Bosnia.
Candelicas, 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 candelicas. Anotando está aquí, ocho candelas para mí. Anotando está aquí, ocho candelas para mí. Muchas fiestas vamos a hacer, con alegría sin placer. Muchas fiestas vamos a hacer, con alegría sin placer. Una, candelicas, dos, candelicas, tres, candelicas, cuatro, candelicas, cinco, candelicas, seis, candelicas, siete, candelicas, ocho candelas para mí. Los pasadicos como miel, con alegría sin la miel. Los pasadicos como miel, con alegría sin la miel. Una, candelicas, dos, candelicas, tres, candelicas, cuatro, candelicas, cinco, candelicas, seis, candelicas, siete, candelicas, ocho candelas para mí.
And let's sing the children. Shall we do a round today?
We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all of that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward to light a candle and to briefly tell us of your joy or sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys and sorrows, and I will light a candle for you.
I'm Ganelle, and I want to light a candle of gratitude. So I fell last Saturday, broke my left wrist. So that's the first thing to be grateful for. It was not the right wrist. I'm right-handed. And this happened at the Ossining Library, a special event, and my friends Leah and Joanne were there, and they gathered around me, as did Dana Levenberg, and everybody made a big deal about me lying on the floor. And an ambulance came, and Leah and Joanne came to the emergency room. So we actually had a little cookie and chocolate party in the emergency room, which made it much more bearable. And then Betsy has brought me meals, and now she is sick herself. But anyway, and lots of other people have offered to help. This is going to be a 6-week ordeal at the minimum, so I'm going to need help. Thank you all very much. Thanks.
It's just because I'm so close to the microphone. As some of you know, my son is in Vietnam right now. That just has an interesting ring to it, but he's traveling all over the country on his own at the moment. And I spoke to him this morning. But my great joy is that I purchased a ticket to Thailand this week, and I'm going to meet him along with my daughter there in February, and then I'm going to go to Tokyo. So I'm kind of freaking out and excited and joyous and taking a big leap across the world.
Hi, my name is Pat Krugman. I would like to light a candle of joy this week. It's been a tough week. I've been very sad. The holidays, my daughter is still in self-imposed isolation following the passing of her dad, which I totally respect, but I miss her terribly. I had the absolute joy yesterday of making garlands with the art committee and creating some things that are so beautiful. Being on a committee here, being a part of the community, sharing jokes and just doing things together, absolutely wonderful. And I made sure I came because I knew it would lift my spirits. So thank you for this wonderful community.
Just wanted to, I'm Blake, youth director. Just that it's special period of time for me. This is what some people refer to as the anniversary period between my wife's diagnosis and her passing in March. But the joy is that tomorrow I and my son Julian and his partner Hetty are flying to New Zealand to see my daughter Eva and her partner Josh, and we're going to spend 2 weeks together in the summer. So it's family. We'll be together, and it's a real joy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ginny Stillman, and Jim and I had the joy of spending almost 18 days in Costa Rica. We just got back late last night, and it was just such a marvelous experience to see the cloud forest, the rainforest, so much flora and fauna that we never see here. We went with a small group adventure company where we actually get to meet the people, we visit a school, we have a meal with a family, so it's more than just sitting in a resort, looking out over the ocean. It was a wonderful experience and a real joy.
And a delicious, perky Sunday morning to you all. Maria, and I would like to say with great pride that Friday at Dutchess Community College in Poughkeepsie, we gave our Christmas concert. Lovely, so please tune into YouTube and look up Dutchess Community College. Make sure you do 2024. And we sing beautiful music in various languages. And it's non-traditional Yuletide songs, really lovely, so I do encourage you to do that. Tune in. And, all right, I'll open my big mouth. As of, I think I'm trying to convince myself, I will be going to Cuba, in March for a jazz session with the local musicians. I'm so thrilled just to say that. I look forward to it. I've been dreaming this for years, and it's finally happening. It came up by chance, so I think it was meant to be. I manifested that. So anyway, I better start saying it over and over so I can truly believe that I'm on my way. Thank you.
We light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows held in the sanctuary of the hearts, and another candle for those who are still looking for a place to share their joys and sorrows.
Please join me in a moment of meditation. Among other wonders of our lives, we are alive. With one another, we live here in the light of this unlikely world that isn't ours for long. May we spend generously the time we are given. May we enact our responsibilities as thoroughly as we enjoy our pleasures. May we seek with clarity, may we seek a vision that serves all beings. May we honor the mystery surpassing our sight, and may we hold in our hands the gift of good work and bear it forth whole as we were born forth by a power we praise to this one earth, this homeland of all we love.
Our reading today is an excerpt from The First Incitement, a chapter in Ross Gay's Inciting Joy. But what happens if joy is not separate from pain? What if joy and pain are fundamentally tangled up with one another? Or even more to the point, what if joy is not only entangled with pain or suffering or sorrow, but is also what emerges from how we care for each other through these things? What if joy, instead of refuge or relief from heartbreak, is what effloresces from us as we help each other carry our heartbreaks? Which is to say, what if joy needs sorrow, or what Zadie Smith in her essay Joy calls the intolerable, for its existence? Now please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our hymn, For All That Is Our Life, number 128 in our gray hymnal.
Which we are called to
doctor's appointment this past week, down near Midtown Manhattan. And as I was walking down the sidewalk on my way to the building, I found myself surrounded by various decorations of trees and snowflakes and wreaths and some unidentifiable inflatable figures. And there were just way too many people. And when I entered the building, I heard an unsurprising, yet somewhat annoying sound in the lobby. Andy Williams's "It's the most wonderful time of the year." I never met Mr. Williams, and I don't know another song that he sings. But I'd like to push back on that notion. I don't know what is the most wonderful time of the year, but how could it possibly be now? Either it's dark and it's cold and it's somewhat miserable, or it's dark and it's not cold, which is miserable because climate change is rearing its head. And our country, which has always been a nightmare for certain groups of people, seems to be entering a whole new era of awful. And there are lots of holidays that are celebrated by lots of people around this time, but for many, myself included, this just reminds us of those who are no longer here to celebrate, or the ways that things have changed, or other various pains and sorrows. Are things supposed to be wonderful just because the music and the decorations tell us so? Where's the real joy? In the first chapter of his book, Inciting Joy, poet and essayist Ross Gay talks about the nature of joy. He points out that many people assume joy is a happy-go-lucky, carefree state completely free of pain. And most folks, in fact, believe that pain and joy are polar opposites. Gay, however, comes to a different conclusion. Rather than thinking they're separate from each other, he asks, what if joy and pain are fundamentally tangled up in one another? And then taking it a step further, he then asks, what if joy needs sorrow for its existence? It's a heavy prospect, to say the least. Why would joy need sorrow? Does this mean that seeking joy means accepting or even advocating for sorrow? Who in their right mind would advocate for sorrow? Thankfully, that is not what Gay means. Later in the chapter, he points out that sorrow doesn't need anyone rooting for it or cheering in its corner. As many of us may know, sorrow is unavoidable. It's inescapable. It's inevitable. No one, from the tiniest baby crying out in the dark to someone taking their last breath, lives a life free of pain or sorrow. Sometimes it's because of things that others are doing or systems that they've created. Sometimes it's because of something you did or didn't do. Sometimes it isn't anyone's fault at all. It's just something that's happening that you happen to be experiencing. It may fit into more than one of these categories, or it may fit into a different one altogether. But whatever the case may be, there is no such thing as a life without sorrow. That doesn't mean we don't try to live one, though, does it? Most folks don't necessarily like feeling that way, so they will do whatever they can to avoid pain and sorrow altogether. We avoid the things and the places that upset us. We deny that anything bothers us. We shove down our feelings and pretend like we're fine. And if we do this well enough, we might even be able to mistake that for joy. I mean, that's what joy is, right? A life that avoids sorrow at all cost. So if we don't focus on the hard stuff, if we run away from it entirely, surely all that will be left is joy. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Once again, Gay sees it differently. He encourages us to, rather than run from sorrow, invite it in and pull up a chair for it at our table. And then through this truly beautiful extended metaphor, seriously, if you have the chance to take out his book from the library or purchase it, I highly suggest you do so. But through this beautiful extended metaphor, he details the possibilities of engaging with our sorrows. It's rather long, so I won't quote it, but I will summarize. And he starts with facing one's sorrow, and rather than avoiding this inevitable aspect of life, he suggests that perhaps we can make space to get to know it. Perhaps we can learn where the sorrows come from and what they're about, and while we're making space for our sorrows, perhaps we can make space for others as well. Perhaps we can invite others to bring in their sorrows, those who we love and those who we like and those who we dislike and those we barely know. Gay's suggestion soon turns into a potluck of sorts, with as many guests as possible bringing a dish and their sorrows. And it goes on until the kitchen is full of food and the house is full of conversation and people are connecting and sorrows are intermingling, and without really noticing it, there are games and toys and dancing and smiles, and joy has been created. Joy has been incited right there in the midst of being honest and direct about our sorrows. And then Gay ends the chapter by talking about how joy is something that can be accessed and brought forth, or in other words, we can incite joy. And that joy can bring out things in us, affecting what we do and how we do it. Or, in other words, joy can incite. With all this in mind, how can we, living with our personal and societal sorrows, incite joy? And what might our joy incite in us? Let's start with the first part. How can we incite joy? As implied earlier, part of working to create joy involves coming face to face with our sorrows and not running away. This is really hard. Most of us are intrinsically wired to seek out things that make us feel good and to move away from things that make us feel bad. We don't want to face our sorrows, whatever they may be, because they cause us pain. And sometimes mentally, sometimes emotionally, sometimes spiritually, sometimes physically, often a combination of a lot. They are at best uncomfortable and at worst debilitating. They also don't tend to go away on their own. And so while it may feel good to avoid them, and we may tell ourselves that the fastest road to joy is one that avoids and ignores sorrows, acting as if they don't exist does not change the fact that they do. And like many things in life we tend to avoid, the longer that we do that, the longer they persist. When new sorrows pop up, they compound upon the old ones, and we keep shoving them back down, and they keep trying to take up more space. It can be exhausting, and I say this as someone whose natural instinct is to shove things down. I get it. But what if we choose a different path? What if, instead of pushing away and pretending, we listen to Gay and sit with that sorrow? Yes, it probably will be painful, but what if we sat with the pain and felt it and expressed it? What if we interrogated it and learned more about it? What if we explored it and used it to get in better touch with ourselves and our feelings and our beliefs? rather than exhausting all of that energy trying to force joy and outrun pain, we can instead face the hard things, sit with them, process, and use all of that energy that we were using before to do something else, anything else. Take care of ourselves, rectify things, seek actual joy. And this is not the kind of work that is meant to be done alone, mind you. Gay's metaphor starts with a person and their sorrow and transforms into a glorious gathering. And at this gathering, no one is expected to pretend that they have no sorrow. No one is expected to hide their pain. Rather, they get to bring the sorrow along to the party with space made and support offered. Being in community with one another and being honest about what we're going through and how we're doing is important. It takes a heavy burden that we've been carrying, that we've been running from, that we may even just start to be facing, and it spreads it among others, making each part feel smaller and smaller. And this amazing thing about this is that being in community while facing your sorrows has this kind of like a reverse synergistic effect. The sorrows end up feeling lighter than before. We see how they're connected to each other, maybe even how they're the same sorrows affecting different people. We hear confessions of those desiring to be honest about something they've done, and the weight gets lifted off of shoulders. We hold each other when all we feel like doing is collapsing. We connect and listen and express and lament and forgive and find things in common, and suddenly the hard stuff doesn't seem quite as bad, even if it still is, because we are not facing it alone. And when we're together, feeling lighter with more energy and more camaraderie, we have the ability to actually act in joy. We're finally able to even consider the things that truly bring us joy and start to do them and see how they transform us. Contrary to all the glitz and the sparkle and the old-timey white men singing, we're actually in a pretty challenging time of year. There's more literal darkness during the day. A lot of us has been dealing with difficult situations, and a lot of us have been dealing with mistreatment and a loss of rights for years. Even more of us are now either scared about what will happen in the upcoming years, or scared for others about what will happen to them, or honestly, both. And it's well known that the holiday season can be tainted by sadness, loss, depression, and on top of all of that, we have this manufactured happiness being shoved down our throats. And yet, somehow, this season can also show us some of the best examples of inciting joy as we come together in sorrow. Take winter solstice, for example. It is the longest night of the year. Everything is cold and dark. And how do some deal with this? Well, historically and also today, pagans have celebrated the holiday of Yule. People decorate with greenery to remind themselves that life hasn't gone away in the dead of winter. They light candles, they burn seasonal plants, they set a Yule log ablaze to cleanse their spaces and remember the warmth and light that are not gone. They come together in feast and celebration to remember that they aren't alone and to connect with one another in a time that may make folks want to huddle in place. These hard things set the stage for folks to come and create their own joy by remembering that difficulty doesn't last forever and they are not alone. And of course, we have Hanukkah, an 8-day celebration stemming from 2nd century BC when the temple in Jerusalem was rededicated. A small band of Jewish people fought to regain control of it after it had been taken over by the occupying forces of the time. And once they were successful, they found a small bit of oil that perhaps they could light their menorah with. The menorah was used for religious rituals and was an important part of the temple. Yet the amount of oil they found should not have lasted through the night. But miraculously, it lasted for 8 whole nights. And today, Jewish people light their menorahs over the course of these 8 nights of Hanukkah, coming together with friends and family for gift, connections, and oil-based foods. In the midst of oppression and destruction, folks found a symbol of hope and faith that has led to rituals that still today remind us that incredible things are possible even when everything feels against you and life is a struggle. And then there's Christmas, the holiday that, regardless of what you may believe, is nearly impossible to escape if you live in America. It's a time for presents and trees and friends and family, not unlike Yule, from which many of these rituals were taken. For practicing Christians, it's a time to celebrate the birth of their Savior, Jesus. Yet when we look past the bombastic praise and get to the nitty-gritty, the Christmas story is a hard one. It contains a young woman getting pregnant with a child that isn't her fiance's, said fiance sticking by her even though that was not what society wanted for either of them, a treacherous walk, we're talking like thousands of miles here, to the fiance's hometown because Caesar was doing a census so he could get taxes, birth in a really inconvenient place, and a failed murder plot that led to the genocide of an entire generation of male children. And yet, somehow, both in the time and place of the story and today, people came together and found something to celebrate. In the midst of all this strife and challenge and pain and violence, they still found and find something to lift up. The awful isn't everything. And with all that in mind, let us conclude with that second part. What does joy incite? When we come together, be it for a holiday or worship or special occasion or just to be together in our sorrows, what does the joy we make bring forth? Perhaps it is a sense of peace, that life can have calm as well as turmoil. Perhaps it's a release of everything pent up inside of us. Perhaps it is greater community so that the next sorrow doesn't have to feel quite so heavy. Perhaps it is the energy to make it to the next moment, the next hour, the next day, so that we can keep working to create a better world. Perhaps it's something even greater than we can imagine in our brief time together today. Whatever it may be, may we come together bringing ourselves and our sorrows, being open and honest so that we may incite and discover what joy incites in us together. My friends, I invite you to stand now as we sing hymn 226, People Look East.
People look east, the time is
Each week we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, where we have benefited from those who have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will be shared with Fred's Pantry. Fred's Pantry operates with a farm-to-pantry model, bringing fresh produce to clients twice a week throughout as much of the year as possible. They provide healthy, nutritious food to more than 350 households per week. For more information, please visit their website, chhop.org. You can also refer to our newsletter or website for more information. You may make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or a check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter or by visiting our website, UUCHV.org. Or if you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. In the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please join me as we extinguish our chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, as you go forth, pull up a chair for yourselves, for your sorrows, for each other. Make time and space to converse, to explore, to get to know, to connect. Find all the things that are lying within. Make each other's burdens lighter. And when you have that done, see what kinds of joy you are able to incite. Blessed be.